Hey comic book fans, so back in 2017, Lego Batman director Chris McKay was tapped to direct a live-action Nightwing movie. I was super excited because I am a die-hard Nightwing fan, but unfortunately, fast forward to the year 2021, and we still had no concrete evidence that that project had moved forward whatsoever. So the creative juices kind of just started flowing in my brain of, well, if we're not getting a Nightwing movie anytime soon, what would I do if I was making a Nightwing movie? So that's what I decided to do. I decided to pitch my ideal Nightwing movie. Now, I originally just had that as a one-off video. I was only really going to do that one idea. But because you guys are so cool, so supportive, left nothing but kind comments and wanting to see more, I decided to turn that into a full-fledged Nightwing movie trilogy. But now that the Nightwing story is done, I thought I'd circle back, and just as a thank you to you guys, I thought I would just mash up all 3 parts, take out my sections at the beginning and end of each video, and just do one long Nightwing supercut, so you can kind of just see the story from start to finish all in one sitting. It's just a fun little thing that I want to throw together for you as a thank you for being so cool and letting me and encouraging me to make this a full-fledged thing. Hopefully someday we get to see a live-action Nightwing in the DC universe, and I kind of think we're going to get that sooner rather than later. But until that day comes, I hope this holds you over, Nightwing fans. I had such a fun time making this. I hope to do more pitches in the future. And again, I can't say thank you enough. Enjoy.
Our movie opens at Wayne Manor as Dick Grayson is packing up his bags, getting ready to move out of the mansion. Helping him with his things is Alfred Pennyworth. Alfred says he would love for Master Grayson to stay, but he understands the desire for an individual to forge his own path. I just need to sort some things out, Al. Bruce has his way of doing things, but I don't think I see things the same way anymore. An important thing to note for our pitch here is that Bruce Wayne will not physically appear in the movie at all, only allusions to him. We get references to the fallout between Dick and Batman, but I think it works better if we leave it to the imagination what the actual fallout was. We just need to know that they're not on the same page, and there's been some hurt there. Therefore, Bruce will not be there to say goodbye when Dick leaves the mansion. "Where will you go?" Alfred asks. "Not too far. I've had my eye on Bludhaven for a bit." As Dick leaves, Alfred gives him one final hug, telling him he's welcome back to the manor anytime, and that he's incredibly proud of the man he's become. On his way into Bludhaven, Dick passes a billboard with the face of newly elected Police Chief Francis Redhorn on it, welcoming him into the city. Needing to find a place to live, he tracks down an apartment complex and goes to make an offer. He strikes up a conversation with an older resident who immediately recognizes Dick from his Flying Grayson days. "I saw you guys back in the day. Your family could do things I had never seen before." "You have no idea," Dick says under his breath. Another voice chimes in, "So, are we going to have a celebrity in my building?" The voice belongs to the building landlord, Bridget, an attractive young lady a few years older than Dick. "Depends. I would need to know a little more about the building from the management. Are you available this Friday? I know a guy that can hook us up with some sweet tickets." "Tickets for what?" asks Bridget. A few days later, we're going to have Dick meet up with an old friend that may be difficult to pull off, but I want it regardless. Superman. In an ideal world, it would be Henry Cavill, but I won't hold my breath. While Batman is one of the biggest influences for Dick Grayson, Superman is the more optimistic and joyful side of his upbringing. Plus, it helps having another character that can relate to Grayson in that they both have years of experience working alongside Batman. "So, $1 million question here. Why Bludhaven?" asks Superman. "I felt like I needed a change of scene, away from him. You know how difficult he can be. I just couldn't be around it anymore. Figured Bludhaven would be different. Turns out it has a lot more in common with Gotham than I thought." "Well, what are you gonna do about it? You and I both know you have a hard time sitting on the sideline." "Bruce made me leave all my Robin gear behind. Plus, I don't feel like that was me anymore. But deep down, you still feel the need to help. I get it. Can I tell you a story, Dick? In ancient Kryptonian lore, there is a hero cast out of his family as well. He dreamt of helping the weak and showing his family he was stronger than they gave him credit for. He used his skills and talents to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves, and ultimately became a legend in the process." "What was his name?" "We never found out his real name, but roughly translated, the name he used was Nightwing." Later that night, a drug deal is going down at the dock. As some of the ringleaders are talking amongst themselves, One of them gets struck in the head by a random object, knocking him unconscious. Another goes to see what hit the first guy, and sees what looks like a bird-shaped throwing star. If you really want, we can in fact call these wingdings. Didn't your mom ever teach you not to touch other people's things? Here, we get our first look at Nightwing in his new outfit. It isn't as polished or refined as his Robin suit because this is his first suit, and one that he had to make himself. It has leather biker pants and a jacket that bears more than a little resemblance to his original comic design, or as I like to call it,
Disco Nightwing!
I think it would be a nice nod to his origin while not going all in on that original suit, which probably doesn't translate super well to the big screen. Here we get our first look at Nightwing in action. It's a fun action set piece that we'll use to showcase his athleticism and acrobatics as well as his humor. We can have him say some cheesy one-liners or bad puns while fighting, but at the same time never going full-on Deadpool.
I know, right?
Once he has subdued the criminals, we can get a fun little interrogation exchange. The name's Nightwing. As you can guess, I'm new in town, so if you could help me out, that'd be great. What are some great local places to eat, fun nightlife, who do you work for, where can I find him? The usual. Everybody knows Blockbuster's the only guy to work for around here. He owns this city. Even the cops can't touch him. Do I look like a cop? Dick says as he makes his escape, while an actual cop arrives. An officer slightly older than Nightwing steps out of her vehicle and surveys his handiwork. We'll check back in on her later, but for now, we have to meet our primary antagonist, Roland Desmond, aka Blockbuster. We head over to the main headquarters of Blockbuster, which has plenty of goons, but also several police officers from the Bludhaven Police Department, including the Chief of Police, Francis Redhorn. One of Desmond's cronies arrives to tell him about what Nightwing did at the docks. Initially, we don't get a clear view of Blockbuster as he's lurking in the shadows. We don't know who this guy is, but he could potentially be a threat to us down. Before he can finish his sentence, a pair of monstrous hands emerges from the shadows, grabs the henchman's head, and snaps it 180 degrees back, killing him on the spot. Or if we really wanted a sequel bait, we could have him somehow survive this and become another Nightwing villain called Torque, whose whole gimmick was, "Hey, look at me! My head don't face the right way!" Stepping out of the shadows is a massive gray hulking figure, Blockbuster.
Boys, looks like we've got a new player in town. Let's teach him who makes the rules around here.
Your stereotypical bad guy spiel. A few days later, we'll join Dick as he's on his date with Bridget the landlord. Here's where we take time to flesh out Dick as a character and give more backstory and reason for us to care about him as a character. And what better place to go on said date and get some helpful backstory than at the circus itself. A circus for the first date? A bit outside the norm, isn't it? Bridget says teasingly. Believe it or not, this is where I grew up. And I may or may not still know the guy that runs it. As he says this, an older gentleman approaches the two of them. Why, if it isn't little Richard Grayson, all grown up. The voice belongs to that of Mr. Haley, the owner of the circus. He warmly hugs Dick and tells him how great it is to see him again. Hope you enjoy the show tonight, and remember, if you're looking for a job, you've always got family here. Bridget continues to tease him about growing up in a circus and growing up a performer. Dick tells her how much he loved it and to a certain extent still does. The thrill of the tightrope, the excitement and energy of the crowd, knowing that there was someone you could wholly trust on the other end to catch you. And yes, this whole conversation on the surface is about his days in the circus, but could also double as a metaphor for his time as Robin, fighting alongside Batman. So if this is so great, what made you quit? Bridget asks. I didn't quit. There was an accident one night when we were in Gotham. One minute we're doing our family's famous flying Grayson routine. The next, he takes a long pause as Bridget takes a moment to realize what he means. Thankfully, someone saw what happened and I got adopted pretty quickly after. Life was pretty different from then on out. At first, with anything new, it was fun and exciting. A new chapter of life and adventure. But as I grew up, someone still saw me as that kid from the circus. We had a big fight and now I'm here having dinner with you. Guess there will always be disagreements between fathers and sons. So then what made you decide to come to Bludhaven? It's not really the ideal tourist city, as I'm sure you've seen by now. Figured moving out of Gotham you'd want a little more peace and quiet. I'm not sure. I think it not being the best actually worked in its favor for me, you know? I always wanted to help any way I could, even if it was something small. If you really want to help, why don't you look into becoming a cop or something? I always did like a man in uniform. I'm not so sure the badge means too much around here, but hey, never say never, I guess. After the show, Dick and Bridget see some sketchy-looking characters approaching Mr. Haley. We told you what would happen if you didn't pay up, says one of the voices. Yeah, Nothing happens in this city without Blockbuster say so. Now, if you want to make sure your time in Bludhaven goes smoothly, I'd pay up now. Here we get a parallel to when Dick was younger and a mob boss shook down the circus for money, ultimately leading to the death of his parents. However, this time, Dick is in a position to do something about it. Seeing that he's unarmed, Dick grabs 2 nearby batons that were used during the show and rushes into action. And yes, these will ultimately end up being his iconic eskrima sticks. Rushing into the fray to protect his friend, Dick quickly takes out the thugs, but not before placing a tracker on one of them for later. "What did you say your job was, Dick, and how much to hire you year-round?" Mr. Haley asked jokingly. Later that evening, Nightwing follows the Enforcer using the tracker he placed on him to pay a special visit to the man that tried to shake down Haley's circus. He follows him to a massive warehouse where it seems the criminals are having some form of meetup, being led by Police Chief Francis Redhorn of all people. Nightwing hides up in the rafters and snaps a few photos of Redhorn before dropping down to make his presence known to the thugs. "So, who's the jackwagon shaking down a circus for protection money? Don't all raise your hands at once." Upon seeing Nightwing, Chief Redhorn immediately bails before anyone comes to blows. What follows will be a fun, large-scale action set piece similar to the warehouse fight in Batman vs. Superman. Whereas our first Nightwing fight was a handful of guys, this will be a much larger group and a true display of Dick's acrobatic and combat skills. Maybe we could have some creative stunts like swinging from chains and scaffolding or something. Throw in 1 or 2 quick jokes, and I think we could have a really fun standout action set piece. Once Nightwing has disposed of the room, he finds the thug that shook down Haley. "Tell your boss, this town is under my protection, not his. Tell him Nightwing is coming for him." Sometime later, that Enforcer makes his way back to Blockbuster to relay Nightwing's message. "That guy from the docks calls himself Nightwing. He crashed the meeting last night."
Where was Redhorn for all of this?
"Oh, he bailed as soon as Nightwing showed up. But like I was saying, he beat the crap out of most of us. Told me to stay away from the circus down by the pier. Said that this is his town, not yours. Can you believe him? Also, he said he's coming for you, boss." Upon hearing that, Blockbuster rushes forward, throws the henchman to the ground, and crushes him beneath his gigantic knee.
This bird is getting under my skin, upsetting my perfectly balanced city. What's so special about that place anyway?
Blockbuster realizes that Nightwing must have some form of a connection to that circus.
Well, if that's how our new friend wants to play things, so be it.
Having seen Chief Redhorn at the little powwow Blockbuster's thugs were having, Nightwing knows he has to get information to bring down Redhorn, thereby weakening Blockbuster's grip on the city. He sneaks into the Bludhaven Police Department and finds Redhorn's office. Hacking into his laptop, Dick discovers some information that further links Redhorn to Blockbuster and his various activities throughout the city. While transferring the info to a thumb drive, a voice in the doorway says, "Freeze! Step away from the computer with your hands up!" It's the same officer that showed up when Dick stopped the drug deal down at the docks. "I believe you're a good cop. One of the few in this town. I believe we're on the same team, Officer Rohrbach. I'm not so sure we are on the same team. I do things the right way, with a badge. You working outside the law isn't helping much. I have to work outside the law because the system is broken, and both you and I know that." Rohrbach responds by saying she agrees, but that's exactly why she's in the system, to fix it from the inside. Nightwing tells her, "If you really want to help, I need you to trust me," as he tosses her the thumb drive with the info on Redhorn. "If you are the cop I think you are, you'll do what's necessary." But as Dick is giving Officer Rohrbach the info, the police radio blares. "We've got an 1171, massive fire down on Dixon Pier, suspected arson." Dick immediately panics because he knows that address. It's Haley's circus. His home away from home was under attack. Blockbuster has sent his message. Nightwing rushes to the pier to try and get as many people to safety as possible, but it's in bad shape and quickly falling apart all around him. As he hurries around the fairground, he tries to help as many people out as he can, clearing debris and freeing some of the animals. He rushes to the big top, which is now completely ablaze. Inside, under some rubble, is the body of Mr. Haley, gasping for air. It's gonna be okay, I'm gonna get you out of here." Knowing that he doesn't have much time left, Mr. Haley gathers up what energy he has left to tell Dick, "Richard, don't worry about me. How did you? I watched you for years. You think because you wear a mask I don't recognize a flying Grayson when I see one? You remind me so much of your father. You're more like him than you know. He'd be so proud of the man you've become. With his last breath, Mr. Haley slips away in Dick's arms. Carrying the body of his friend to safety, Nightwing is thrown violently as an explosion hurtles him into a nearby river into the water below. Badly beaten up and with his suit now damaged due to the flames, he begins to lose consciousness. Before passing out, Dick sees the silhouette of Superman in the sky coming towards him. Waking up 2 days later, Dick finds himself back in the Batcave with Alfred at his side. "You gave us quite the scare, Master Dick. Thankfully, Mr. Kent was able to find you and bring you here." Dick wants to know what happened to the circus, as Alfred tells him the whole thing burnt to the ground. But almost everyone was evacuated. But not everyone, Alfred. This is my fault. My responsibility. If I didn't egg on Blockbuster, didn't let my personal feelings get in the way, innocent people would still be alive today. He would still be alive. I couldn't save my parents and I couldn't save Haley. I can't keep doing this if it's going to cost the lives of people I love. Alfred comforts Dick by saying he's seen this before. Believe it or not, Master Wayne used to say the same thing about you, Master Dick. You aren't as dissimilar as you like to think. I mean that with the utmost respect. You both are just too hard-headed to admit it at times. I shall tell you the same thing I have told Master Bruce time and time again. You must be able to forgive yourself. You made a mistake, but are you going to let that be your last? Don't forget about your friend, but continue the fight to honor him, like you honor your parents. Dick explains to Alfred that even if he wanted to, he can't go back out there and fight Blockbuster. His suit was destroyed in the fire. Alfred, chuckling to himself, tells Dick that while he may have been away, he is still a Wayne, and Waynes are always prepared. Alfred motions for Dick to follow him to the armory in the cave. I had this made for you after you left. Figured at some point it might come in handy. He opens a panel to reveal the classic black and blue Nightwing suit, following in the grand superhero movie tradition of suit upgrades later in the movie. Now armed with his iconic suit, Nightwing borrows one of the motorcycles from the Batcave to go face Blockbuster one-on-one. As Nightwing is on his way back into the city, he calls up Officer Rohrbach, asking if she had a chance to look at the thumb drive. She says she did, and that she and some of her fellow officers are on their way to arrest Redhorn right now. He'll be with Desmond at his building. I'm on my way. Don't go in without me. While Officer Rohrbach is busy with Redhorn, Nightwing goes to confront Blockbuster face to face, which is easier said than done. Blockbuster gloats over Nightwing.
No one in this town can touch me. Even if by some miracle you can beat me, good luck getting anyone to testify against me.
Well, that's where you're wrong, blockhead. Thanks to the proud and the few not on your payroll, Chief Redhorn over there has a slew of officers waiting to arrest him, and I would bet that he would be more than willing to cut into his jail time by testifying against you. Upon hearing that, Blockbuster immediately charges for Redhorn, but Nightwing springs into action while Redhorn makes his escape. The two go head-to-head in a battle of strengths. Blockbuster with his sheer size and strength, Nightwing with his athleticism and speed. Every time Blockbuster charges up to attack Nightwing, Dick quickly dodges out of the way, causing Blockbuster to crash through a support beam.
You can't run forever. I will crush you.
More cliche evil villain talk, you know. I don't need to run forever, just long enough for you to do the work for me. As Nightwing says this, he dodges out of the way of another Blockbuster attack, which sends Blockbuster through yet another support beam, this time bringing down concrete from the floor above to fall and completely cover Blockbuster, but still leaves him alive, just with a massive headache. Officer Rohrbach, I got everything taken care of up here. You guys got Redhorn? Yeah, we got him. Thanks for your help, I guess. No problem. Now, how do we get Blockbuster out of here? A week later, Dick returns back to the apartment complex and into the worried arms of Bridget. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay. There was the fire, and I didn't hear from you. I'm okay, Bridge. Really. Bridget says she's sorry for the loss of Mr. Haley and that he seemed like a really good guy. She also tells him that while he was gone, he received some interesting mail. Dick finds he got some mail from Haley's circus. Opening it up, he discovers the last will and testament of Mr. Haley, gifting the circus to Dick. Keep honoring them. I'm proud of you. Take care, Richard. Love, Mr. Haley. Over a montage, Dick then says, Hey, I took your advice and applied for the police academy. Thought, why not try and make a difference like you said? We then get to see Dick on his first day at the police academy, where he officially meets his new supervisor, Officer Amy Rohrbach. And just for kicks, we'll throw in a post-credit scene at the end. We get an overhead shot of a group of muggers assaulting a woman. One of the muggers notices a figure in the shadows. Hey, "We ain't scared of you, Nightwing. Come on out and face us. What you gonna do?" Before the thug could finish the sentence, a long sword emerges from the shadows, slitting the thug's throat. The figure then quickly murders almost all the other thieves. The final thug, gasping for air, looks up and says, "But you're not Nightwing." As the shadowy figure finishes off the final thief, he says,
You're right, but I suppose you can help me find him.
We pan up to reveal the shadowy figure as Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke.
Our movie takes place 2 years after the events of the first film. Nightwing has become more established within the city, but ever since he took out Blockbuster, there's been a massive power vacuum within the city to see who controls its underworld. In Blockbuster's absence, Dudley Soames, aka Torque, the man Blockbuster attempted to murder in the first movie, is currently the head of the crime table. We open with a bunch of Torque's goons attempting to break into a bank, your standard run-of-the-mill comic book setup. Nightwing bursts onto the scene, cracking a few bad puns and showing a real handle on the situation. We have a fun action set piece showcasing Nightwing's hand-to-hand and acrobatic combat skills. Here we see that Dick has only grown more confident and assured since moving to Bludhaven, showing what he's like at his highest, before we knock him down to his lowest later. However, a second wave of henchmen come onto the scene, brandishing some more heavy-duty weaponry. We do this to show that in the past 2 years, crime and the methods of criminals have only escalated. It's becoming harder and harder on a nightly basis to protect the city. Nightwing retreats for cover for a brief second to formulate a new plan of attack. After catching his breath, he takes out the thugs one by one. We could even have some fun with this scene and have him taunting the bad guys as he slowly takes them out. As the scene ends, Dick could say to himself, "I am really good at my job." Immediately smash cut to him, fast asleep at his desk during his daytime job. He's awoken by getting hit in the head by his partner, Amy Rohrbach. Dick is still working at the Bludhaven Police Department and is now paired with Officer Rohrbach, the same officer he worked with while under the Nightwing disguise to help bring down Blockbuster in our first movie. Late night partying again? Something like that, Dick says sarcastically. Come on, partner. Let's go get some actual coffee, not the crap in the break room. Dick and Amy head to go get some coffee during this time, and we'll use this scene to immediately establish that the relationship between Dick and Amy is purely platonic. There will be no romantic tension whatsoever between these characters. We can also get a better understanding of where our characters are at and what the world around them currently looks like. Dick and Amy can lament that the city seems to somehow have gotten worse since the fall of Blockbuster. At least he kept his men in order and had rules. Now crime in the city is more rampant and chaotic than ever. Heavy-duty guns, chaos in the streets, no real solutions. Grayson, you ever have any doubts about coming to the city? Not for a second. Gotham just was not for me anymore. Too many painful memories, and I knew I could never move on if I didn't move out. Crime's bad here, but hey, at least it's not Gotham. You ever wonder what it would be like if Batman ever came to Bludhaven? Amy asks. Think he and Nightwing would get along? We don't need him here. Between the police department and Nightwing, we can cover our bases just fine. Seeing the confusion now on his partner's face, Dick clarifies. When I lived in Gotham, Batman was everywhere. He casts kind of a big shadow. I just don't want that shadow following me here. The two cops don't say anything for a moment, but the tension is cut when their radios blare. We got a 1071 down at 84th and Dixon. Suspect is believed to be Dudley Soames. All officers nearby needed. Saved by the call, says Amy. Here's where we get our introduction to one of the film's villains, Torque. Torque, aka Dudley Soames, as previously stated, worked for Blockbuster, but was nearly killed by the behemoth when Blockbuster twisted his neck completely around. Now the man's head faces 180 degrees the opposite direction and is supported by a brace. Talk about eyes in the back of your head. I'm sorry. However, Torque isn't necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer and will more be used as a pawn in this story. Dick and Amy show up to a massive standoff between Torque's men and the Bludhaven Police Department. What's the situation? We finally got Soames pinned down, but he says he's not coming quietly. A cop abruptly emerges from the group and says he'll go talk to Soames and try and get him out of the building. What are you doing? That goes against protocol, Amy screams at him in frustration. He picks up a megaphone, but as he goes to speak, he's shot in the shoulder by one of Torque's men. A firefight ensues with Amy and Dick quickly running for cover. Over on the side, this is all part of Torque's plan as he was able to quickly sneak away while all the fighting is happening around him.
Having let Torque slip through their fingers again, Dick and Amy help the officers at the scene before retreating back to the station. Torque sneaks away to a secret hideout, or at least a location that he thought was secret. Emerging from one of the shadows is a man Torque has never seen before. A man decked out head to toe in tactical gear and sporting an orange and black mask. Ah, great! Another masked freak. Just what my city needs.
Mr. Soames, you may call me Deathstroke. I have been watching you for a great while, and I think you're just the man I need for a very lucrative business opportunity.
And what business is that, Mr. Stroke?
The extermination business, with a preference for those in the vigilante line of work. I know you and your operation have had more than a few run-ins with Nightwing. I think we can be of use to each other. Consider this a gift between friends.
Deathstroke puts a briefcase on the table, containing a new high-tech neck brace and a pair of AI-enhanced goggles, both designed specifically for Torque. Well, Mr. Stroke, I think we can come to some form of an agreement, as a sly grin comes across the face of the mobster. The next day, Dick and Amy retrace their steps to try and figure out their next move to try and catch Torque. Soames must have had some friends in high places. He's not the sharpest guy out there, but he's got connections throughout the city that keep him one step ahead of us, Dick remarks. Or he just happens to have the right friends placed in the right spots. The scene was under control before Officer Numbskull over there tried bargaining with him. You think Soames has officers on his payroll? In this town, you can never fully rule anything out. We may need to start keeping our eyes peeled for strange things internally before we go trying to bring him down. Suddenly, Dick and Amy are ambushed by a swarm of thugs, no doubt Torque sending some form of retaliation for the previous day's events. The two cops are severely overmatched. We've previously seen Dick hold his own on a fight against a large group of thugs, but in regular work attire, and with Amy not knowing his alter ego, Dick has to tone down his abilities so as not to raise suspicion. However, when the fight seems to be at its worst, a mysterious figure leaps into action to turn the fight in the cops' favor. The mysterious combatant is decked out in all black, with his face obscured with a solid black mask. They quickly dispose of the rest of the thugs, albeit using some excessive force to get the job done. They help Dick and Amy to their feet, but disappear before the cops can ask them any questions. Another vigilante in town? I thought I knew all the masked weirdos running around here, Amy retorts. Yeah, so did I, Dick says skeptically, unsure of who or what just helped them out. However, unbeknownst to Amy, as he was being helped up by the mystery hero, Dick snuck a tracker on them to do some investigating later on as Nightwing, the same technique he used to get intel on Blockbuster in our first film, except this time the result will be different. That night, Nightwing heads out to try and get some information about the new masked figure in town. The signal is emanating from the basement of an abandoned building on the east side of Bludhaven. When Nightwing arrives on the scene, however, the only thing he finds is the tracker itself, clearly no longer attached to its intended target. Whoever is behind the mask knew that they were being tracked and decided to use that information against Nightwing. Nightwing got lazy, and now he knows he made a mistake.
Word of advice,
a voice from the shadow says.
If you're gonna tag someone for recon, maybe do it when you're in the suit next time. Now it makes it a little easier to put two and two together. But don't worry, kid. Your secret's safe with me.
Gee, thanks. I feel so reassured. So then, who exactly are you? Stepping out of the shadows is an older man sporting an eye patch and a goatee.
My name is Wilson. Slade Wilson. And I've been following your career for a while now.
I don't know if I should be honored or creeped out by that. What do you want, Mr. Wilson?
I want to help you make a difference. I've been fighting wars my whole life. When I came home after my tour, I knew I wanted to go somewhere where I could put my skills to use and help people. I enjoy going to places no one else will, and Bludhaven's reputation spoke for itself. I've seen what the city has become, and I believe that together, you and I can make it a safe place again. You've clearly got some decent training, but I think I could still teach you a thing or two. Last time I checked, you were in the market for a partner?
clearly your sources are out of date. When it comes to superheroing, I haven't had a partner for a bit. Didn't work out so well last time.
I understand that. You don't have to let me know right now. Think it over and let me know what you decide. We'll be in touch. Oh, and Nightwing. Next time, be sure you're a few moves ahead.
As Slade tosses the tracker back at Nightwing. The next morning, Dick reports into work at the police station. Hey, I need you to look into somebody for me. Got the name of our mystery savior, Slade Wilson. Can you run a background check on him for me? Dick asks Amy. After some digging, Amy pulls up quite a bit of information about one Mr. Wilson. Looks like he spent a dozen or so years overseas. Says here former Black Ops Special Forces, that type of stuff. He was the sole survivor of some special government hush mission, in which case he was tasked with being the head of the group. Ever since then, it seems like he's gone completely off the grid. No info, nothing for the past few years. Upon hearing about Slade's former team and going off the grid, Dick begins to sympathize with the man due to his time leading a team as well. Amy sees Dick's expression change upon finding out some of this information and asks if he's alright. Dick says his experiences aren't too dissimilar to Slade's. Back in the day, he ran with a team of highly trained individuals that he almost considered family. One day they had a mission where everything was going fine. A mission that Dick was the one in charge of. But not everyone came home that day. He lost a good friend. Dick is of course referring to his time back when he was Robin, leading the Teen Titans, and the teammate that they lost under his watch was a kid named Jericho. But we'll circle back to that later. Dick begins to loosen his stance on Slade, suggesting maybe he's just looking for some purpose. Just because you guys have similar experiences doesn't mean he's trustworthy. I still think something's a little sketchy with him, so keep your guard up, Amy suggests. That night, Nightwing resumes his hunt for Torque. He goes to a well-known hangout spot for some of Torque's men, hoping to get some information on their boss's whereabouts. He sneaks around, picking off the goons one by one. We could have a really tense scene here where he's trying not to make any noise for fear of more guys showing up. But when he's eventually spotted, all hell breaks loose. At first, Nightwing has a handle on the situation, cracking jokes and making light of the circumstances. But more and more guys are arriving and showing up well armed. However, when things look the most dire for our boy in blue, who should show up in full gear but Slade Wilson?
I thought I told you to think a few moves ahead.
With Slade at Dick's side, the balance of the fight begins to shift in their favor. The two work surprisingly well together, albeit Slade having a bit more intensity in his fighting style, which showcases itself when Slade goes a bit overboard on some of the goons. The two masked heroes eventually clear out the room, and Nightwing is able to get some answers from Slade. How did you know I was here?
That's a funny way to say thanks for your help, Slade,
he says sarcastically.
You think you're the only one that knows about this place? I have connections too, just the same as you.
Slade then once again asks Dick if he wants to work together to take down Torque. He makes the argument that since criminals have gotten more dangerous, it'd be beneficial for them to be on the same page and watch each other's backs. Slade says he's even willing to teach Nightwing some new combat and interrogation techniques that could help him during the evening patrols. After a moment of contemplation, Dick reluctantly agrees that a second pair of eyes would be helpful. Slade tells Nightwing to meet him at the basement where they first talked tomorrow night, and they can get started on training and taking down Torque. Here's where we set up one of the core themes of the movie: partners. Dick has a partner he depends on for his day job, and now, for the first time since splitting from Batman, he now has a partner whilst being a superhero. All the while, Dick hasn't emotionally moved on from his previous partnership. As teased earlier on, he still harbors ill will towards Batman. Now what happens when he gets burned by a partner again?
Foreshadowing.
Because I have faith in you as a viewer to catch on to what's happening here, and because I'm sure you have some comic book knowledge if you're watching this video, we're gonna go ahead and spoil the quote-unquote big twist of the movie. Slade Wilson is in fact Deathstroke, the masked figure working with Torque. Huge shocker there, I know. But here's why I think it's important to tell this story element now as opposed to revealing it later. I think there could be more tension and buildup if we blatantly see the danger coming for our main hero, but never fully know when the danger will hit. It's more suspenseful if we know Slade is actually evil the whole time and will eventually turn on Dick than a sudden twist. But you ask, why would Slade want to teach Nightwing anything in the first place? Aren't they enemies? Very true. But Deathstroke is as cunning as he is lethal. His mind is just as strong as his physical attributes. Deathstroke could easily kill Nightwing, but he knows that to truly beat him, he has to destroy every part of him, destroy the idea that Dick is a good person. Slade wants to train Dick to essentially become someone Dick won't even recognize. Someone that only wants to hurt and destroy. Someone that the city of Bludhaven could grow to fear and distrust, turning the whole city against Nightwing. Think along the lines of Karate Kid Part 3. In that movie, Terry Silver, one of the founders of the evil Cobra Kai dojo, manipulates the main hero, Daniel LaRusso, into training with him and tries to do everything in his power to destroy Daniel. He goes against everything Daniel has been taught up till this point, but does so in a manner that Daniel thinks is friendly and helpful. I want the same thing from Deathstroke and Nightwing. Nightwing's fatal character flaw has always been a willingness to trust anyone. Let's have an enemy actually use that weakness to their advantage. With the true relationship between Slade and Dick established, we follow them the next night for their first time working and training together.
Crime never goes away. It just continues to evolve. The question is, are you willing to evolve with it?
Slade asks Dick.
You've had adequate training thus far, but even Batman only knows so much.
Let's not bring Batman into this, okay? And what do you think you know that Batman doesn't already? Dick asks skeptically.
When I fight someone, I make sure they aren't getting back up.
Whoa, Bats and I didn't agree on much, but the whole no-killing thing was pretty good common ground.
I never said anything about killing, Grayson. You didn't let me finish. With criminals getting stronger and better armed, I need to make sure I'm making the first move and making it count. Make strong, assertive moves that my opponent won't want to get up from. Thus far, you've been taught how to react, and in that sense, you've been taught well. Now I want to teach you how to be able to make the first moves and make them memorable.
With that, Slade begins introducing Dick to some new, albeit more aggressive, combat styles to use while out on patrol. Dick is initially reluctant at first because some of the methods seem a bit extreme, but Slade continues to reassure Dick that these are what Bludhaven needs to be kept safe. This becomes the trend for the next several nights as Dick trains with Slade, followed by the two men doing some investigations into Torque's operations. They eventually discover that Torque is running several phony businesses as fronts for his real crimes.
I think it's time we put some of those new moves to the test. Don't you agree?
Slade says to Dick as the two men make their way to one of the fronts. We get a big action scene that can contrast really well with the action scene from the beginning of the movie. There, Nightwing was more jokey and having fun. Here, he'll be much more assertive, focused, and aggressive. Nothing too extreme in the violence department, but a notable step up from where he was at previously. That is, until a thug gets the drop on Slade. With Slade occupied with his own group of thugs, he doesn't notice a gun aimed right for his head. Nightwing leaps into action to protect his new partner, but breaks the crook's arm in the process. The catalyst for Dick's newfound aggression will be rooted in his desire to keep his partner safe. To not lose another teammate, not again. As the criminal writhes on the ground in pain, Nightwing interrogates him about Torque. Your boss, what do you feel like telling us about him? If you don't, I'm sure I can find a way to level those arms out so they're about equal. I swear I don't know much. I could just tell you some of the places he runs that you guys might not know about. That's mighty generous of you. Now, was that so hard? Nightwing asks sarcastically. We see in a montage this recurring cycle of Nightwing and Slade going to various locations, shaking down the thugs, and trying to find Torque. All the while, Dick is getting more and more violent. Slowly but surely, he begins to develop a reputation among the Bludhaven criminal underworld. They start to fear Nightwing, and in return, Nightwing is using that fear against them. Sound familiar? That's right. Because of Slade's influence, Dick is becoming more and more like Batman, the one person he swore he'd never become. We've spent a decent amount of time with Dick and Slade. Let's hop on over to our secondary antagonist, Torque. He's feeling panicked as he knows the walls are closing in around him as Nightwing gets closer and closer to bringing him in. At one of his secret hideouts, Deathstroke reconnects with Torque, to which Torque lays into Deathstroke. What are you even good for? Since you've come to town, Nightwing has only gotten closer than ever to turning my operation belly up. You said you had a plan.
I do have a plan, and it's all going exactly how it's supposed to. I've kept you alive so far, haven't I? I'm making sure that together, we're one step ahead of Nightwing at all times. Don't you worry.
Torque continues to voice his frustrations, citing the dwindling numbers of henchmen at his disposal and even less henchmen seeming to want to work for them, presumably because they don't want to be beaten to a bloody pulp. "I've been in this game too long," Torque screams. "I deserve this whole city!"
Believe me when I say, my friend, when this is all over, you'll get exactly what you deserve. And so will Nightwing.
We cut to the next morning as Dick and Amy are working on paperwork at the police department. Another set of cops bring in a random group of criminals, ones that clearly had an extra rough night. This starts an interesting dialogue between our two lead cops when Amy randomly asks, "Hey, is it just me or are people coming in here looking a little more worse for the wear lately? Haven't really noticed. Just been noticing that there's been less of them is all." True, Amy says with a hint of judgment in her voice. "I know that voice. That's the I have thoughts, but I don't want to say them voice." Amy reassures Dick that she really meant nothing by it, but deep down, we as the audience know that she's catching on that something isn't quite right with her partner. That night, after their training, Slade and Dick have a heart-to-heart conversation. Dick tells Slade that for a first-time teacher, he's not too bad. Slade tells Dick that he actually has taught someone before. Just one person.
I had a son once. A few years younger than you. But a fighter. I trained him for years, but all the training in the world can't keep you safe all the time.
What happened to him?
He was taken from me. He was the only family I had left. After he died, I lost my sense of purpose. It's the reason I went back into the field. I told you it was because I wanted to help? No. I went back into the field because I wanted to die. But some old habits die hard, and I'm still kicking. Eventually, I realized my son would have wanted me to go on. To make things right. I knew this city could use some help. So I came here. For my son.
Slade's whole motivation for his actions revolve around his son. On the flip side, whether consciously or not, Dick's motivations come from proving his quote-unquote father wrong, to try everything in his power to not be like Batman. Dick empathizes with Slade due to needing to fill that emotional father figure role that's been empty since his fracture from Batman, and that tumultuous relationship came to an end without ever getting proper healing. I think if your son was alive, he'd be incredibly proud of the work you're doing, Dick says.
I appreciate that, Grayson. I'm sure it doesn't mean much coming from me, but for what it's worth, if you were my son, I'd be proud of you.
Slade picks his words very carefully to have the most impact possible so he can emotionally manipulate Dick, preying on his weakness, the need for validation.
Oh, I almost forgot. I just got done with this little project I've been working on and I want you to have it.
He unveils a new suit for Nightwing, except the classic blue has been replaced with a dark shade of red. I think this could be a fun way to change up the costume and give a tip of the cap to the new 52 suit design, while still having a story reason to do so.
I've reinforced it with more armor, yet it should be even more agile. It even has a tracker on it, so if you ever get in too deep, I could drop everything and bail you out. Plus, there's a few other fun surprises in it.
Dick seems hesitant to take the new suit, with Slade telling him to think on it and not rush to a decision. At his home, Dick stands alone with both his classic blue suit and his new red suit in front of him, deciding which direction to go. He remembers when Alfred gifted him the original suit, and hears Alfred's voice in his head saying, "You are still a Wayne, and Waynes are always prepared." He then hears Slade's voice again saying,
If you were my son, I'd be proud of you.
With a heavy sigh, Dick reaches for the classic blue suit and puts it away in favor of the new red one. Thematically, this is Dick abandoning everything in his life that has led him to this moment, burying the past and pushing forward, fully embracing who he thinks he is now. With his new red suit in tow, Nightwing goes out on his own to try and shut down another one of Torque's shady businesses. He gives Slade a heads up as to where he's going, but Slade says he's following up on a different lead and will meet up with Nightwing as soon as he can. With this now being a solo mission, we can fully showcase the quote-unquote New and improved Nightwing in his final form, red suit and all. He starts by picking off the thugs covertly one by one to ramp up the intimidation factor before dropping down to attack head on. Now Nightwing's approach is vastly different from the start of the film. Gone are the wisecracks, one-liners, and more controlled approach to fighting. Now it's all about the level of damage and fear he can inflict. He's still not going to kill anyone. We won't go that far. But it's still much more brutal fighting style Dickie's using than what we've seen in the past. Imagine a character going from a Spider-Man fighting style to a Punisher style. More than a few criminals will have serious injuries, including broken arms and legs and some dislocated shoulders. However, in the midst of the chaos, Nightwing sees a familiar face. One he never expected to be here. It's a fellow cop from the Bludhaven Police Department. The same one that instigated the riot that let Torque escape in the first place. Nightwing tries to run after the rat as he attempts to flee, but is stopped by another barrage of thugs. Nightwing continues to unleash his aggression on the henchmen, before eventually standing tall, with many bloody and battered men at his feet. The next morning, Dick arrives at the police station to confront his fellow officer, but he knows he needs to be careful because Nightwing saw the cop at the warehouse. Dick Grayson wouldn't possibly know that. "Hey, how's it going? Do anything fun last night?" Dick asks as he approaches the snitch. "Nah, you know how it is. Just went home, kicked back, watched some TV. You sure about that? I was talking to a friend on the night shift and they were talking about some crazy stuff that went down last night in that warehouse on Tomasky Street. They said they could have swore they saw you there." At this point, Amy comes over to assess the situation. "What's going on here? Your partner over here has a crazy imagination, making up some stories about me and accusing me of being dirty. To be fair, I never said you were a dirty cop. Only heavily implied it. Cute. I'm not saying I was there. Not saying I wasn't. But so what if I have a side hustle? Everyone in this town does to make ends meet. We didn't all get the fortune that comes with getting adopted by a rich prick after our real mommy and daddy go splat." With that, Dick clocks the officer in the face with a stiff right hand, dropping him to the floor. A scuffle ensues with Amy getting in the middle and attempting to break it up. She takes Dick away and scolds him for his hot-headedness. "What the hell is wrong with you? You don't just deck a coworker, even if they do deserve it. Talk to me, Grayson. What's going on? You haven't been yourself since Soames got away. We're partners. Let me help you." "I'm fine!" A prolonged silence lingers in the air as even Dick is taken aback by his outburst. "I'm fine. Really. I appreciate the concern. It's just..." Dick walks away sullenly as he goes outside to clear his head. Once outside, he gets a call from an unknown number.
"Hey, kid,"
says the voice of Slade on the other end. "Please tell me you have some good news. I could really use some good news right now."
"Only the best. Remember that lead I told you I was working on? Well, they came through and we have a confirmed location for Soames. He's closer to your side of town right now, though, so if you want him, you better hurry. I'll get there as soon as I can."
Tossing the phone aside, Dick runs off to get suited up. As he's leaving, Amy sees him and decides to follow him, sensing something is wrong. Arriving at the location Slade gave him, Nightwing does some quick recon. Surprisingly, there are no guards or even henchmen. It's just Torque, all by himself. The perfect scenario to end things. "Hey, Dudley. Good to see you. Been looking all over for you. You don't call, you don't write. What can I say? I'm a busy man. Businesses to run, places to be. How about you come with me and we can take some of those tiresome responsibilities off your hands? So I could end up in the hospital clinging to life like the rest of my guys you attacked? I think I'll pass on that," Torque says as he produces a machine gun and starts to spray the room with gunfire. Nightwing leaps into action and starts to chase after Torque, who makes his way towards the stairwell. Torque bounds up the stairs, all the while trying to aim at Nightwing using his special goggles. Reaching the rooftop, Nightwing finally has Torque cornered. He can finally take care of the big thorn in his side. "Looks like the end of the line, Soames." "Maybe. For now. But think about this. I've made it this long because I've had many friends in high places. I'm sure those same friends will make sure I'm not stuck for very long. Then all your hard work, all your running around to catch me,
will be all for naught. At the end of the day, I still own this city. And as long as I do, you'll always be fighting an impossible battle. One that I'll make sure has casualties.
With that, Nightwing lunges at Torque and proceeds to viciously attack him. He takes him to the ground and starts to unleash his newfound aggression on the man that has made him run in circles for months. He rains down a flurry of punches on the downed Torque, who at this point is now coughing up blood. Where does it end, Soames? What's it gonna take? With each passing punch, it gets more and more uncomfortable to watch as Nightwing pummels the villain, gasping for air. Barely conscious now from the beating, Torque says in a weak voice,
You can't change this city. But I'm glad to see that it's finally changing you.
Hearing that, Nightwing drops Torque and stares down at his own bloody hands in disbelief. For the first time in months, Nightwing actually thinks about what he's done, all the terrible things he's done in the name of cleaning up the city. In his desperate attempt to save the city, he's become the one thing he swore he'd never be. Consumed by anger, just like Batman. Taking a moment, Nightwing goes to Torque to tend to his wounds and bring him in the right way. But as he goes to him, a slight mechanical noise comes out of Torque's neck brace, the one given to him by Deathstroke. The brace was booby-trapped and the trap has been sprung, resulting in small blades on the inside going into the now dead mobster's neck. It was all a setup, as Nightwing is now holding Torque's dead body as he bleeds out. Stunned by the turn of events, Dick is paralyzed with shock as he now sits holding Torque. Fighting back tears of frustration and confusion, Nightwing looks up as a nearby billboard lights up. Similar to the end credits of Spider-Man Far From Home, we'll have a news reporter pop up and give info. This just in, known gangster Dudley Soames, aka Torque, has been murdered tonight. The culprit? None other than Bludhaven's own vigilante, Nightwing. The following footage was just sent to us of the incident. We caution our viewers, this could be disturbing. What plays on the screen is footage taken from Nightwing's own perspective as he viciously assaults Torque. Unbeknownst to our hero, his quote-unquote new and improved suit came equipped with a tiny camera on the front that's been monitoring and recording every move he's made. However, the footage shown on the news station edits out any involvement of the booby-trap neck brace, only Nightwing's attacks. This attack comes after a string of violent assaults from the former hero, prompting many in the city to call for his arrest. The news station then also plays recorded footage from Nightwing's other attacks against Torque's men, displaying his now more violent tendencies for the entire city to see. Struck with a sense of rage and disbelief, Dick realizes what's been going on. He's been played. He trusted someone and now has been badly burned. This whole time, Torque wasn't the threat. It was Slade. Despite being emotionally compromised, Nightwing goes to confront Slade and understand everything that's happened. He goes back to their base, but just like the first time they met, Slade was ready and waiting for him. Except this time, Slade is decked out in orange and black tactical gear, ready for a fight. How? How could you betray me? I thought we were working together to clean up this city. Now you burn all that down, and for what?
First off, betrayal implies that I was ever on your side to begin with. And second of all, the streets are cleaner now, aren't they? One less scumbag out there.
You were always gonna kill him, weren't you? We don't kill! That's not how we do things!
Maybe that's not how you do things. I'm not tied down by some flimsy morality that keeps me from doing what needs to be done. Plus, don't act like you're not happy to see it. I did you a huge favor when you think about it. Whether you want to admit it or not.
But why? Why, Torque? Why bring me into this at all?
Because it's only ever been about you. I've thought about nothing but you for years, and how best to ruin you. Years ago, you ran with those so-called friends of yours. The Titans. Tell me, Dick, did you ever lose anyone? Did anyone ever die on your watch?
It's at this moment that it all comes together for Dick. Jericho, the teammate that died while Dick was leading the Teen Titans as Robin. was actually the son of Slade Wilson. This whole time, Slade has been planning and picking the right moment to strike. So why not just kill me?
I could have killed you at any point, but that would have been too quick and easy. No, you deserve worse than death. You deserve to live with your guilt, for everyone to see that despite your best efforts, deep down you're still a bitter, broken child masquerading as a hero.
With that, Dick charges at Slade, now in his full Deathstroke gear. Dick takes wild swings, but isn't in the right frame of mind to fight. His emotions are all over the place, and Deathstroke is just toying with him. Add the fact that almost all of Nightwing's entire fighting style of late was taught to him by Deathstroke, and he can't find any sort of momentum because Slade has a counter for everything. Deathstroke, tired of playing around, produces his signature sword, ready to end the fight. With each failed attack by Nightwing, Slade gives him a cut in a different location. Nothing fatal, but sharp, quick attacks meant to weaken the opponent over time. Slowly bleeding out, Dick collapses to the floor.
I could kill you right here, right now, Grayson. But I want you to live with your guilt. I want your city to see you for who you truly are. Just a man. A man that will always let the people he cares about down when it matters most.
After Slade leaves, Dick tries to stay conscious and get to his feet, but collapses back down. As he's blacking out, he sees a lone cop car pull up. Its flashing lights the only thing he sees before passing out. Waking up 2 days later, Dick finds himself in a random house. He struggles to his feet and starts investigating his environment when he hears a familiar voice yell, "You're supposed to be resting!" as Amy Rohrbach emerges with some ice packs and medicine. Wait, you saved me? So you knew about my other job? I'm with you almost all day, every day. You're not clever enough to be able to hide secrets from me. How long have you known? Long enough, but up until recently, I never needed to do anything about it. Every cop in the city is looking for Nightwing now. So, you want to give me your side of the story before things get worse? Dick finally tells Amy everything, from growing up as Robin to teaming with Titans, to Slade appearing and quote-unquote training Dick to better handle the city. Slade's smart. He wanted to use your willingness to trust others and fill the father figure void to his benefit, twist it against you for added pain. I don't have a father figure problem, Dick says sharply. Are you sure about that? Dick goes quiet for a few minutes. So as an outsider observing this whole situation, how do I change my approach? Slade literally sees everything I've got coming. Amy suggests he should make a move that Slade won't see coming. She says Slade has been in his head ever since he showed up. Dick needs to find a way to get into Slade's head for a change. With that, Dick gets an idea. He picks up the phone and calls an old friend. Hey Alfred, it's me. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Life's just been messy lately. I'm figuring it out, but I do need some help with something. Can you send something to Bludhaven for me as quick as possible? I'm feeling a little nostalgic. For the first time in months, Dick cracks a smile as he starts to formulate a plan. He finds the red suit Slade gave him, and via the suit's camera, he challenges Slade to a rematch. But he puts a little extra something on the challenge. If you want to end my career as a hero and destroy my legacy once and for all, here's your chance. If you beat me again, I'll turn myself in and hang up the spandex forever. If I beat you, you admit you killed Torque and leave me and Bludhaven alone forever. Meet me at these coordinates. One way or another, this ends tonight. Dick stands prepared, ready for Deathstroke's arrival. Except this time, he's not wearing the red suit. He's not even wearing the classic blue suit. In an attempt to play mind games with Deathstroke, Dick is sporting his old Robin costume. This works as a fun callback to his past, but it could also double as symbolism for where the character is mentally and emotionally.
You've got a lot of nerve wearing that again,
says Deathstroke, skulking out of the shadows. Deathstroke is clearly put off seeing that suit again. as the memories of his son come flooding back. Jericho was a good kid, and he deserved better. From both his Titans family and his real family.
I was his only family, and you took that from me.
Slade lunges at Dick with full force, holding nothing back. However, instead of trying to match Deathstroke blow for blow, Nightwing resorts back to his old fighting techniques. Talking a lot. He talks about all the good memories he had with Jericho, all the times he saw him save people and be selfless, traits he clearly didn't learn from his father. Dick says that Jericho knew the risks when he became a Titan, yet he still joined anyway because he was a hero. Here we see Dick is finally starting to forgive himself for what happened, and accept that he doesn't always have to shoulder the responsibility of others. Now with Slade being the emotionally compromised one, Nightwing goes on the offensive, mixing up his styles using a combination of his older, Batman-taught techniques and his newer, more aggressive fighting style. And because he's thinking clearly this time around, he's able to anticipate Slade's moves, the same ones Slade taught him, and use them against his opponent. Dropping to one knee, Deathstroke attempts one last-ditch effort to make Nightwing completely snap again.
Face it, Grayson. Deep down, you've got the same anger bubbling beneath the surface that I do. The desperate desire to protect people, even if it means hurting someone else in return. You can run from the inevitable all you want, but deep down we know you're just another Batman in waiting.
I'm not you, and I'm sure as hell not Batman. With that emphatic statement, Nightwing delivers a swift kick that puts Deathstroke down for good. Slade has finally been defeated, but what toll has he left on our hero? A week later, Officer Rohrbach stops by Dick's apartment to check in on him and give him an update on everything. She says that upon his arrest, Slade did confess to the murder of Dudley Solms, but through some legal loopholes he was released before anything could happen. Guess the friend in high places has friends in higher places. She then asks Dick when he's coming back to work. I don't think I am, actually. If I do, it's not going to be anytime soon. Slade uncovered stuff inside of me I've been trying to avoid for years. He was right about something. There are some demons I've been trying to push down instead of confronting. Makes me question who I am. So for now, I'm going to try and figure that out. Once I do, then I'll let you know what's next. Dick finally acknowledges that there are still some unresolved feelings, not just about being a hero, but about Batman and that falling out that was never really settled. As Amy leaves, Dick heads to his room and pulls out a box containing his classic black and blue Nightwing suit. He holds it thinking of what it truly means to not only be a hero, but more specifically what it means to be Nightwing. After a moment of contemplation, he puts the suit back where it was, feeling as though he is unworthy of it, like it's not who he is anymore. Dick packs up a bag, switches off the light, and makes his way to leave. Not just the apartment, but leave Bludhaven entirely. He feels lost and defeated, and like any child who has lost their way, the only place he knows to go is home as he passes a sign for Gotham City. But little does he know, his biggest challenge still lies ahead of him.
Our story opens 15 years in the past at an all-too-familiar circus, Haley's Circus, the home of the Flying Graysons. A young Dick Grayson is practicing routines with his parents, getting ready to make his debut in front of a live audience. The only problem is, he's getting some serious stage fright, coupled with the fact that even after weeks of practice, he still can't seem to hit his big aerial maneuver, the Phoenix Flight. After yet another failed attempt at the move, the dejected young Grayson goes over to the bleachers for a rest and to clear his head. Seeing all this, Dick's father John goes over to comfort him. You know, it's okay to be nervous. Fear is a good motivator so long as you don't let it control you. Are you ever afraid, Dad? More than you'd think, kiddo, John says with a comforting smile. Did I ever tell you about my first show? Back in high school, our school was doing a production of Robin Hood. I was kind of an unmotivated bum at the time, but that all changed when I saw a cute girl trying out for the role of Maid Marian. Naturally, I tried out for the lead so as to win her over. Probably out of a sense of cruel irony, the drama teacher cast me as Little John instead. Fast forward to opening night, and I'm this close to hurling backstage. That's when Maid Marian saw me and gave me some great advice. What did she say? I told him it's okay to have butterflies in your stomach. They're just there to remind you that you can fly, says Mary Grayson, Dick's mom and one-time Maid Marian. Good grief, that line actually worked on Dad? Ish, but the rest is history. The moral of the story, Dick, is that it's okay to be nervous. Failure is scary. Thankfully, there's more to learn from failure than there is from success. So when you fall, be ready to turn it into a chance to fly. So what do you say, kiddo? Are you ready to fly? Dick smiles as we zoom out to see the circus, full of other performers, getting ready for the big night. We then cut to the present time, where the same circus is completely empty and totally abandoned. Remember towards the end of part 1, Blockbuster attacked Haley's circus and nearly burned it to the ground. At the end of the movie, Mr. Haley gave the circus to Dick. However, Dick doesn't know what to do with it, so the property and all the performers have just been left by the wayside. Having been broken down emotionally and physically by Deathstroke in our previous movie, Dick sits alone in the circus, reminiscing about the better times. After a few more minutes of grief and isolation, Dick leaves the circus to make his way back to Gotham. Back home. He arrives back in Wayne Manor, and in a mirror of our part 1, the only person to greet him is Alfred. Alfred says he heard about everything that went down in Bludhaven, and that he's sorry Dick had to go through all that. He says Dick is more than welcome to stay at the manor as long as he needs. Are you sure the big guy won't mind? He and I haven't really talked since... well, you know. I'll make sure he doesn't give you a hard time. In all honesty, he'll probably be happy to see you. In his own way. After a few days alone at the manor, Dick is flipping through the news channels when he sees a headline that immediately grabs his attention. Infamous Gotham mobster Tony Zuko was found dead last night from an apparent suicide. Zuko was recently released from Gotham prison, having served over a decade-long sentence for extortion and connection to the murder of the local performers John and Mary Grayson. In that moment, a million emotions go through Dick's head. Utter shock at the sudden passing, and maybe even the slightest bit of warped satisfaction that the man that took his family away from him is now gone forever. But after taking a moment to collect himself and his morality, his overriding emotion is one of guilt. He gets flashbacks to the death of Torque, another villain he so thoroughly hated, but wanted to see face justice the right way, only for them to wind up dead. Possibly out of a sense of righting a perceived wrong, Dick decides he needs to look into the death of Tony Zuko himself. It all just seems too convenient that as soon as Zuko is released, he just happens to wind up dead. But in order to get to the bottom of this, Dick is going to have to go to the one place and talk to the one person he's been avoiding for years. The Batcave and Batman. For our Nightwing arc these past 2 movies, there's been this unresolved tension between Nightwing and Batman, stemming from a falling out before the events of our first film. This time around, the conflict that we've been brewing in the background will finally come to a head. By forcing Dick to confront his past, he can then learn to grow and rebuild himself into something better than he ever was before. As he makes his way down to the Batcave, Dick finds that Batman is already there, seemingly waiting for him. No, I know what you're gonna say, Dick, but no, you cannot be involved with this case. Even if you were in the right headspace, you're too emotionally connected to Zuko to be an unbiased piece of this puzzle, Batman tells Dick condescendingly. Look, there's no one on Earth that hated Tony Zuko for his past sins more than me, but even I say that death is too extreme for that scum. Our job is justice, not vengeance. We made sure Zuko got justice for killing my parents. Now someone's gone too far, and I need to know who and how to stop them from killing again. Or is it you trying to clear your conscience for what happened to Torque? Dick hangs his head in shame, unable to answer. Alfred gives Bruce a look somewhere between disappointment and encouragement, trying to intervene on Dick's behalf without saying as much. After taking a pause, Bruce reluctantly says that he'll let Dick help with the investigation, but he has to follow his lead to the letter. It's at this point Dick remembers he doesn't actually have a crime-fighting outfit anymore. Remember that he ditched his blue suit when Deathstroke gave him the booby-trapped red one. Not wanting to don a Robin suit yet again, or heaven forbid a spare bat suit, he cobbles together some generic black gear and a mask for going out on patrol. It'll be similar to his very first suit we had him use in part 1, and also helps visually show that he doesn't really fit into any clear-cut identity at the moment. And by and large, this will be the outfit he'll be sporting for most of the movie. With his new gear in tow, Nightwing and Batman go out on patrol together, for the first time in years. The two head to the scene of the crime to gather any clues the police might have missed. According to the autopsy report, Zuko had a heavy dose of hallucinogens in his system when he died. Whoever took him out wanted him to come across like a madman, meaning he probably knew or saw something he shouldn't, and someone went to great lengths to shut him up. Batman says. When they arrive at the crime scene, nothing seems out of the norm, just an otherwise undisturbed room. However, while digging for clues, Dick stumbles upon something very much out of the norm. He finds a huge feather, probably belonging to an owl or some other large bird. Zuko doesn't strike you as much of a pet guy, right? Upon seeing the feather, Batman's demeanor changes from stoic to one of great concern. Nightwing, listen to me. If that is what I think it is, we've stumbled onto something a whole lot bigger than the assassination of a former mob boss. Something you don't need to be involved with. What's that supposed to mean? If there's something larger at play, you're gonna need me. You can't bench me when you need me the most. Not again. The two men get into a shouting match as they exchange heated words when all of a sudden, a masked figure comes crashing through the window. The figure is decked out in all black, with his mask concealing his entire face, with big goggles for the eyes. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say this is the dude we're looking for, right? Here we get our first big action scene of the movie, as it's essentially a 2-on-1 fight with Nightwing and Batman versus this new mystery figure. However, the fight won't go the way you'd expect. Since Nightwing and Batman haven't fought together in so long, they've gotten accustomed to working alone, as opposed to working with a partner. This results in the two heroes constantly miscommunicating and getting in each other's way. A fight that should be fairly simple for two master fighters is drastically more difficult because of the two's lack of chemistry. Added is the fact that this mystery figure is a skilled fighter in their own right, countering every move and landing some critical strikes of his own. Whoever this new enemy is, they're unlike anything either Nightwing or Batman have faced before. With the fight spilling to the outside, the assailant starts to run as we get a brief chase scene through Gotham. After a few minutes, the mystery man is able to slip away from our heroes, leaving more questions than answers to our mystery. Back at the Batcave, Dick is desperate for answers, feeling completely out of the loop. Here's where we get our big exposition dump as Bruce gets Dick, and therefore the audience, up to speed on the real threat for our movie. What we saw tonight was a myth, an urban legend, a bedtime story that people tell their kids to get them to behave. What we saw was a Talon, enforcer for the Court of Owls. Seeing a look of confusion and disbelief on Dick's face, Bruce explains the Court of Owls. He says that the court is an urban legend as old as the city of Gotham itself, and according to legend, has been secretly running the city from the shadows for centuries. They're made up of the city's most powerful families and individuals, and have ultimate say on everything in Gotham. If anyone tries to change their plans, step out of line, or expose them, they send a Talon to take care of the problem. Essentially, these guys are Gotham's version of the Illuminati. So assuming I believe these myths, and the court has been around for centuries, why are we only just now finding out anything about them? Why now? I'm not sure, and that's what makes me worried. However, his tone of voice seems to vaguely hint that he might know more than he lets on. We get a montage of Batman and Nightwing working together again, beating up goons and tracking down any possible leads on the court. We can use this montage to accomplish two things: get more exposition and info on the court, but also get more info on what the days of Batman and Robin were like. Dick could reminisce about specific missions or D-tier villains that barely pose a threat. He starts to remember that not everything about being Batman's sidekick was so bad. Over the course of several weeks, we have the two men start to slowly rebuild their fractured relationship, and therefore start to get their team mojo back. Their team chemistry improves and makes them even more efficient at taking down thugs. At one point, as a sign of extending an olive branch, Batman even lets Nightwing take lead on taking down a crime hotspot. We could have a really fun, large-scale action scene different from anything we've seen from our previous Nightwing movies. We could have a massive hand-to-hand fight scene with countless thugs, but see it from the perspective of partners trying to watch each other's backs. Double the heroes, double the criminals. We also finally get to see Batman in action, someone whose fighting style is different from Dick's, but you can clearly see where Dick got some of his combat inspirations from. After clearing the room, we could have some fun with Batman and Nightwing embracing the good cop, bad cop stereotype. What do you know about the Court of Owls? Batman demands in an almost over-the-top, gruff manner. I swear I don't know nothing. I swear. And even if I did, I'm way more afraid of them than I am of you, says the clearly intimidated thug. Are you sure, man? You seem like a half-decent guy just hanging out with the wrong crowds. I'd hate for you to end up like the last guy, Dick says sarcastically. Batman, do you remember the last guy? I remember what's left of him, says Batman, clearly picking up on Dick's interrogation strategy. All I know is they suppose they have something to do with that old abandoned manor house near Perez Plaza. You gotta believe me. Don't let them know I told you anything. They have eyes and ears everywhere. The next night, Nightwing and Batman make their way to the manor house to finally get some answers about the Court of Owls. Before they go in, Dick stops Bruce. Hey, so neither of us have been particularly good with words, so I'll keep it short. I didn't know how it would feel coming back to Gotham, and especially working with you again. After the whole Slade thing, I felt lost. Long story short, I've really appreciated working with you again. Bruce stands there, not really saying anything. After a long pause, he says, Dick, before we go in there, I have something to tell you. He takes a deep breath, but for some reason, holds back what he was going to say. Eventually, he just says, let's go. We can talk later. The duo make their way into the manor, only to find it's surprisingly well kept. While the outside is run down and decrepit, the inside is nearly spotless. This place clearly hasn't been as abandoned as the facade would indicate, but someone has gone to great lengths to make it look like it has been. After investigating the whole house, Nightwing and Batman discover a secret entrance to what appears to be some sort of tunnel system. They descend the tunnel stairs, seeing what looks like a light source at the end. The two men look at each other and nod, fully acknowledging that this could be a trap. They enter a circular room that almost looks like some kind of arena. At the top of the arena, all the way around, sits masked figures staring down at our heroes, dressed in fancy suits and gowns and donning featureless white masks. The Court of Owls have arrived, and the court is in session. One of the unknown figures, presumably the leader, stands up to address Batman and Nightwing.
Welcome, heroes. We've been expecting you. In all honesty, it took you longer than we anticipated. Then again, the Waynes were never as smart as they like to believe.
Batman stares back at the leader, a scowl now on his face.
Don't act so surprised, Bruce. Gotham has belonged to the court long before you, and there is nothing that happens in this city without our approval or knowledge.
Does that include the assassination of Tony Zuko? Nightwing says, inserting himself into the conversation.
Ah, Mr. Grayson, the man we've been wanting to meet. We thought you, of all people, would appreciate Mr. Zuko no longer being a part of the equation. That is why he was chosen. Chosen for a specific purpose.
As the leader says this, the masked assailant Batman and Nightwing fought at the scene of the crime emerges from the shadows and stands next to the head of the court.
Mr. Wayne, Mr. Grayson, I believe you've met the Talon for the Court of Owls.
The head of the court goes on to explain that Talons are basically highly skilled assassins that work solely for the court, doing their dirty work and silencing anyone that threatens them. Think along the lines of Winter Soldiers from Captain America, but way, way worse.
Mr. Zuko was a much-needed target because at the present moment, he was the one that would best be suited to start the chain of events that would result in the outcome that we have so desperately desired.
And what outcome is that? Nightwing asks.
The prodigal son returning home and leading Gotham into a new era.
Nightwing looks confused by this, not understanding what the court is getting at. At the same time, Talon also looks slightly confused by this revelation.
For as long as the court has ruled over Gotham, we have had a Talon to lead and execute the will of the court. Individuals that are trained from an early age in many fields, so as to get them the most prepared when they come of age. Sadly, 15 years ago we thought we lost our chosen champion forever when their path diverted from the one we had chosen for them. But we have been waiting in the wing for the right moment, the right time to welcome home our champion. So allow us to say, welcome home, Dick Grayson. Right hand to the Court of Owls.
Dick stands in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend, let alone believe anything the head of the court says. You're lying! My parents were never a part of any crazy cult.
While your parents may not have known of us, that does not mean what I'm saying is any less true. We've used Haley's Circus for decades as a way to find the best possible candidates for Talons. All your training was the foundation of what you could someday become. And now, the time has come for you to take your place as the hand of the court and lead Gotham into a new, prosperous era.
That's enough, Batman says.
Oh, we think not, Mr. Wayne. The court never forgets, even if you try to. Would you like to explain to Mr. Grayson the part you play in this story?
Let me guess, your great master plan was ruined the night my parents died and Bruce took me in. Yeah, I kinda pieced that one together. Nightwing, Don't, Batman says in a hushed tone.
The truth really is a matter of perspective and the illusion that you have the whole story. But Mr. Grayson, allow me to give you the piece that's been withheld from you in this tale. Our history of Talons is an utmost secret to all except one. When Mr. Wayne brought you in after the death of your parents, it wasn't out of the goodness of his heart. He knew what your destiny was set to be and wanted to use you and your unique skills as a tool for his crusade. He didn't care what happened to your parents. He only saw an opportunity, and he took it.
Nightwing looks at Batman, hoping to see in him some form of denial, but sees Batman with his head held low, seemingly confirming the court's claims. You! How could you? How could you keep this from me? All these years, and you were keeping this from me? I trusted you! Batman pleads with Nightwing to trust him and stay focused. He says they can talk about this later. For now, they have a job to do. But Nightwing isn't having it and lunges at the head of the court. Unfazed, the head of the court orders Talon to defend him. Talon hesitates for a moment before leaping into action. Batman and Nightwing are forced to rematch with their new foe. Except this time, both men are emotionally compromised and are in no state to be able to work together effectively. It's almost as if Nightwing is fighting both Talon and Batman because he can't think clearly and he no longer knows who to trust. As the fight progresses, Talon is slowly splitting our heroes up, trying to take them down individually. He now has Nightwing on the ropes, both literally and figuratively, as Talon is backing Nightwing over what appears to be a trapdoor. Tired and run down, Nightwing attempts one final attack on Talon, lunging at him with everything he's got. Unfortunately, Talon catches him and sticks him with a concealed needle. Nightwing starts to lose consciousness as Talon throws him down into wherever the trapdoor leads. When Nightwing comes to, he finds himself in what appears to be a massive cave of some kind. Here we can have a bit of fun thematic storytelling, very similar to the cave scene in Empire Strikes Back, where Luke has to confront his inner darkness. How we do that for Nightwing is that in addition to knocking Dick out, the needle that Talon hit him with contains the same hallucinogen that was found in Tony Zuko. This allows for some cool out-of-body character moments that thrust our character even further down the dark rabbit hole. We start with Nightwing back in uniform, but not the nondescript black one he's been sporting for most of this movie. Instead, he's back wearing the red suit that Deathstroke gave him. Dick knows he's disoriented, but all he can focus on for now is a way out of this giant cavernous maze he finds himself in. A loud, booming voice echoes throughout the cave.
You can't run from what you are. You can't outrun the sins of your past.
As Dick looks around for the voice, his costume changes again. This time, from the red suit to an unmasked version of the Talon suit.
You are what we chose you to be. Don't deny your true destiny. Come back to where you truly belong. Bruce never cared about you. He only wanted a successor.
Dick's outfit changes again, but this time from the Talon suit to the Bat suit.
Maybe in another world you could have made a good Batman. Maybe even better than him. But we know that's not you. We know you better than you know yourself. So ask yourself, Mr. Grayson, who do you think you are?
I'm not him, but I'm not your puppet either, Nightwing screams out into the void.
Maybe they were wrong about you after all. Maybe you aren't their grand champion. Maybe you were just a scared boy playing dress-up, hoping someone will notice him.
As the voice says this, we as the audience see Dick change one last time, except this time, it's not just a costume change. We see a young version of Dick, decked out in his Robin gear. Enough of the mind games! Let's settle this face to face! A shadowy figure starts to make their way down the tunnel towards Robin. To Robin's relief, the figure is that of Batman. There you are! What happened? One minute we're getting beat up by tall, dark, and creepy, then all of a sudden you abandoned me. Look, Bruce, the thing hit me with something gnarly and I really need to get out of here. So you can either help me, or you can get out of the way. I thought I trained you better than that. Now you need someone to come save you every time you get in over your head? When you tried to fight Blockbuster, Superman had to come save you. When you tried to fight Deathstroke, your partner had to come save you. When are you gonna start picking yourself up? Batman looks down at Dick, still visually in his Robin gear, with disdain. You were such a disappointment. And with that, Batman decks Robin, causing him to drop to the ground.
With a stunned look on his face, Dick hurries back to his feet to defend himself. "What's gotten into you, Bruce?" Batman continues to go on the offensive, overpowering Dick with his sheer size and brutality. "I'm just realizing that you've been the one holding me back all this time. I never needed you. I thought that together we could fix Gotham, but instead you ran away and washed out. If only your parents could see what a failure their son has become." Badly beaten, Dick looks up and sees the truth. Figure that he thought was Batman slowly transforms into the Talon. Talon has been manipulating Dick this whole time to break Nightwing both physically and mentally.
You're no great champion at all. Talon is an honor bestowed to the few, and you spit on its legacy. The court will see that there's only one Talon to lead Gotham into its glory.
Nightwing, now visually back in his nondescript black suit, tries his best to fight back, but it's no use. He has nothing left. Beaten and battered, Nightwing is carried by Talon to what looks like the exit of the cave, overlooking a body of water. Talon throws Dick over and into the watery depths below, leaving him for dead. Nightwing tries his best to stay above the water, being carried downstream. Eventually, Dick washes ashore and collapses from exhaustion. 2 days later, Batman tries to contact Nightwing. He tells Alfred that he's been trying to get a hold of him ever since the incident with the Court of Owls. Alfred suggests that Dick probably doesn't want to talk to Bruce because he worries he can't trust him. "I didn't get a chance to tell him the whole story. I never knew what the right time was, and now it's all blown up in my face. I was lucky to have him come home once. I don't think it'll happen again." Alfred then does what he always does best: impart fatherly wisdom. He tells Bruce that in time, Dick will understand that Bruce was only trying to protect him, and that things will only get better for it. He says that Bruce is far from perfect, but he should be incredibly proud of the man he raised Dick to be. Alfred says that what Dick needs right now is some time to heal, both mentally and physically. Bruce agrees, but he still wants some assurances that Dick is okay, so he picks up the phone. "Hey, it's me. I need you to find Dick and make sure he's okay. Talk to him. I know he'll listen. He's always respected you." After a few moments, the voice on the other end agrees. "Thanks. I appreciate it." We find Dick all alone on the outskirts of the city, as he's wondering what to do next, if there even is a what's next. Who should appear but Superman? I think this could be a fun full circle moment, as we had Dick come to Superman for advice in our first movie, and now he can come back one more time at the end of our story. Let me guess. Bruce sent you here to check up on me, Dick says skeptically. Yes and no. Yeah, he asked me to see how you were doing, but there's also some news I wanted to tell you first. Lois and I are expecting our first child, Clark says. He says that he's nervous about fatherhood, worried he'll screw something up or do something wrong. If anyone is dad material, Clark, it's you. Trust me, I've been around the type that wasn't long enough to know. Clark takes a moment to think before responding. I understand you, probably in a different way than Bruce ever could. He only ever knew one family. You and I, on the other hand, have had two families. The one that birthed us, and the one that raised us. Don't get it twisted. Both of them love us very much. He may not show it well, but Bruce does care about you, Dick. All fathers care for their sons. Dick reflects on what Clark says before attempting to deflect the conversation. So have you guys picked out a name yet? We decided to name him after my dad. John. Dick offers up a half smile, remembering his own father. That's a good name. With his guard now down, Dick tells Clark everything that's happened the past few months. He tells him about teaming up with Deathstroke and how it was only to hurt him, and it left him so unsure of himself. He tells him about coming back to Gotham hoping to figure it out when the whole Court of Owls thing dropped on him. Now he feels more lost and confused than ever. You know, our line of work can take its toll. There are plenty of times I feel so overwhelmed. It's times like that I go back to the Fortress or Smallville to keep myself grounded and find my balance again. So ask yourself, Dick, what's your Smallville? Dick explains that growing up with his parents, they were always on the road performing, so they never actually had a place to call home. Well, sounds to me like you found your answer there. Dick then heads to the one place he needs to go above everywhere else, the place that started everything. But more importantly, it's the one place Dick can go to truly find himself again. Haley's Circus.
Remember that at the end of our first Nightwing movie pitch, Blockbuster set the circus on fire and tried to destroy it and ended up killing the owner, Mr. Haley. In his will, Mr. Haley gifted the circus to Dick to run and maintain. We neglected that element for our part 2 so that we could bring it back here, similar to how Dick also neglected the circus. The circus can now act as great symbolism. Just like our main protagonist, it's something that's been through the ringer and can only regain its former glory once time and effort has been put into repairing it. It can also be about Dick reclaiming part of his story, using a place that was meant to weaponize him as a place to heal himself and become whole again. The first thing he works on is repairing some of the basic trapeze equipment so he can run old circus drills to clear his mind. As he does, old memories of flying side by side with his parents come flooding back. He remembers the joys of leaping into action and hearing the roar of the crowd. He remembers back to trying to hit his big move, the Phoenix Flight, but never quite getting it. He thinks back to his parents' advice. Failure is scary. Thankfully, there's more to learn from failure than there is from success. So when you fall, be ready to turn it into a chance to fly. Dick spends the next several days and weeks, slowly but surely, repairing Haley's circus. All the while, healing himself physically and mentally, bringing himself back to balance. A short while later, Bruce finally shows up to talk to Dick to resolve everything once and for all. A moment that we've been building towards since our first movie. This place looks a lot different than last time I was here. Heard the management really let this place go, Bruce says in an attempt to break the ice. Humor has never been your strong suit. Stick with cold and distant. Let me guess. Clark tell you where I was? Didn't have to. Give me a little credit. I do know you better than you think. Apparently better than I know myself. Be honest with me, Bruce. Were you ever going to tell me about the court on your own? Or were you just hoping if you never mentioned it, it would make it not true? Bruce stands in silence, not really knowing how best to answer. I get that secrets are just par for the course for this family, but I didn't think that included secrets about the family. What's worse is that I was actually starting to think you cared. Moment of truth, Bruce. When did you know? Bruce simply asks, does it matter? To me it does! Did you know when you adopted me that I was being trained for something terrible? That maybe you could use those skills for your own benefit in your crusade for Gotham? Dick takes a long, frustrated sigh. Did you ever actually care? Or was I only ever a tool for Batman? There's a long silence as Bruce tries to figure out that answer for himself. I didn't know at the time everything that went down here. I didn't see you as some dangerous weapon. The night your parents died, I saw the same thing I see every day when I look in the mirror. That night, I saw a scared, confused boy who lost his whole world in an instant. A boy angry and bitter that needed vengeance on those that took everything from him. Dick snaps back. So what? You take me in, and you teach me everything you know, so that someday I could end up just like you? So that you don't. There's a long pause as neither man knows what to say next, before Bruce finally breaks the silence. You've done a decent job fixing this place, but I still see some areas that could use some work. Need any help? As Bruce offers out his hand. Dick hesitates for a minute, before shaking Bruce's hand as the two men start to work together on repairing the circus, and by extension, their relationship. The next night, with Dick and Bruce finally on the same page at last, they work out their big strategy to finally taking down the Court of Owls. As Bruce is working on the computer, Dick is off to the side working on some project. Dick mentions how the court kept saying something about ushering in a new era for Gotham, so clearly they have something big planned. Bruce asks if there's any specific way that Dick thinks that the court would attack, citing that a single talent can't overthrow a city by itself. It's then that Dick realizes something that connects everything. Remember when we found Tony Zuko? Before they killed him, the court had him filled with hallucinogens to make him seem crazy so he wouldn't go blabbing. Well, when we fought Talon again and got separated, I got hit with that same stuff and it completely took me out. What are the odds the court can replicate that on a large scale? Throw the city into utter chaos only to save it and make themselves the heroes. Bruce then looks into all large industrial facilities that have been abandoned over the past few decades that may be able to be used without detection. After some digging, all but one location meets the needed requirements. A supposedly abandoned chemical plant on the edge of Gotham. As our heroes get prepared for the final fight, Dick tells Bruce there's something he's going to need. Bruce cracks a slight smile as he sees Dick putting the finishing touches on his project.
Having overcome his physical and mental challenges, Dick is finally ready to pick up the mantle of the Nightwing suit once again. However, remember that his original black and blue suit he left behind in Bludhaven. Instead, Dick is now sporting his iconic black and bright blue suit from DC Rebirth. It's a little on the nose, but Dick Grayson has now been reborn as a new, better Nightwing, and we have a suit to visually represent that. With our dynamic duo now suited and ready to fight, we get a little bit of fan service from me and me alone as we recreate that iconic cover of Batman 615 with Batman and Nightwing running side by side as equals. The two arrive at the creepy abandoned facility, expecting to take the court by surprise. However, as has been the case so far, the court is one step ahead and knew our heroes would find them. The court is once again gathered around an open area, with Talon standing next to the head of the court.
Welcome again, Mr. Wayne, Mr. Grayson. Join us for the dawning of the new era of Gotham,
says the head of the court. We appreciate the sentiment and all, but Gotham is just fine as is. Well, give or take some things, Dick says sarcastically.
Mr. Grayson, we are mere minutes away from the court once again ruling Gotham. But since we are merciful, we shall offer you one last chance at redemption. Do you accept your destiny and take up your role as the right hand of the court?
Talon looks at the head of the court, then back to Nightwing. You know, you make a tempting offer, but I'm gonna have to turn you down. Never been the biggest believer in destiny. The head of the court looks frustrated and annoyed.
You will regret that decision, boy. You could have been the greatest Talon in our history, helped us accomplish new wonders. But no matter, like so many before you, when one weapon is dulled or defective, we simply craft another one. For now, we shall make do.
Suddenly, the head of the court is stabbed from behind, killing him instantly. When the body falls, the culprit is revealed to be Talon.
I am neither dulled nor defective. The true strength of the court has never been in its head, but its claws that strike the throat of those that oppose it.
Talon then commands the remaining court members to go down to the device they are using and protect it for a few more minutes before it goes off. Batman and Nightwing look at each other, deciding what the play should be. Go after them and shut down the device. I need to handle this, Nightwing tells Batman. Batman looks at Nightwing for a brief moment before giving a half nod of encouragement/pride. Now all alone, Nightwing gets ready to square off against his deadly adversary. Having now faced his opponent several times and with the pressure of a ticking clock, Nightwing is able to put up more of a fight this time around. The two slug it out with each fighter landing hard hit after hard hit. But despite his best efforts, Nightwing is starting to lose the fight, seemingly not finding the right strategy to beat Talon.
You couldn't even beat me when your mentor was here, so how do you expect to beat me without him?
Says Talon condescendingly. With that taunt, the light bulb goes off in Nightwing's head. Lucky for you, Batman wasn't the only mentor that taught me how to fight. Nightwing then cheap shots the gloating Talon while he was distracted and proceeds to ambush his opponent with a flurry of strikes. Understanding what he has to do, Dick goes on the offensive, adopting the fighting style that Deathstroke taught him. Except this time, Dick remains in control of his emotions, no longer clouded by anger and bitterness. Nightwing and Talon are now more evenly matched than ever, with Talon becoming the one on the back foot. With a swift counter, Nightwing is able to throw Talon across the room. We then see in a quick montage, a flashback to Dick's days in the circus with his parents. We see them happy and smiling together one last time as Dick hears the voice of his father. What do you say, kiddo? Are you ready to fly? With every ounce of energy he has left, Nightwing takes to the skies. Swinging through the air, he finally uses the move from his childhood, the Phoenix Flight, to put his opponent down for good, bringing everything full circle. However, Nightwing doesn't get much time to celebrate as the building starts to collapse. Nightwing rushes to find Batman, who tells him that while he's able to stop the device, there is a kill switch that set off a self-destruct for the entire building. Because of course there's a self-destruct. Nightwing runs back to save Talon, but the building falls apart all around him, trapping Talon, and for all intents and purposes, it's what's gonna kill him off. Our dynamic duo has to quickly make their escape, before the entire structure comes crashing down and they meet the same fate as Talon. The two heroes barely make their escape as the chemical plant crumbles to the ground. A few days later, Dick is packing up his things to leave for Bludhaven. Just like how our trilogy started with Dick leaving for Bludhaven, it ends with him leaving for Bludhaven. Except the difference this time compared to the first movie we pitched is that Bruce is there to see him off this time. I know touchy-feely isn't really our thing, but I just want to say thanks. When I came back, I didn't know what was next for me or where I belong. Now I do, Dick says. You'll always have a place here, but Bludhaven needs you more. They should be proud to have a hero like you. I know I'm proud of you, Bruce says. Dick can't help but get a huge smile hearing that, finally getting Bruce's seal of approval. You know, I never liked the idea of Batman working alone. You get all mopey and stuff. Maybe it's time to pass the psychic mantle to someone else. Just something to consider, Dick jokingly says as he starts to drive away. We then cut to a rooftop in Bludhaven, where we see Dick's old partner at the police department, Amy Rohrbach. She's looking over a random case file when she hears a familiar voice. So, what'd I miss, Officer Rohrbach? Nightwing says. It's Lieutenant now, and quite a bit. While you were on vacation, Blockbuster was released. On good behavior, and nothing about it seems above boards. I can't officially look into anything myself, but maybe somebody else can? Off the books? Amy responds. So back to work then, Nightwing says as he gets ready to investigate. As he gets ready to leave, Amy says, Oh, by the way, it's good to have you back. Nightwing cracks a smile as he takes to the skies. As he does, we see that his suit has one last surprise in it. The classic Nightwing wings. The blue wings pop out of the new suit and almost gives the illusion of flying.